Hey guys, welcome back. You know what time it is. We have the release of a new selection pack, and that means a new meta, and we will talk about the best 5 decks that you can use this month and probably at the beginning of the next month until we get the next selection pack, basically to reach Master 1 and dominate the ladder. My personal number 5 to reach Master 1 with is branded, still branded. Nothing has really changed here with this new pack, but the engine is still strong. We don't have any new hits for this deck, as basically every important card has already been hit. What you see here is a 60 card list, the list of Arbor Mode, the very known branded player who always tops in tournaments, but you can obviously also go ahead and play this as a 40 card list or a 50 card list, whatever you want to go with. The 60 card list with the grass is obviously a bit more expensive, as you need extra cards, or you want to put in extra cards that are also ultra rares, like the sarcophagus or multiple talents, for example. And as I already said, you don't need to play it in this heavy version here. You still have the ability to go for the puppet lock here, even though I think a lot of people are not playing it in Master Duel for whatever reason, because it's very, very effective in my opinion. This deck being able to really break boards when going second. As you can see, we are only playing one Ash in this one, and this still works. There are mainly only board breakers in here besides the impermanences in the Maxis and this one Ash that we want to cross out, or can obviously also use. But branded still very strong and also very good into the fire meta, especially with cards like the Mirror Jade, being able to banish stuff like the Garunix, the new Garunix, the Promethean Princess, Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon, so to remove them from play forever basically and weaken the fire deck. Keep in mind one important thing, if you're not aware of this: if your Mirror Jade, the Iceblade Dragon, gets put into the spell and trap zone by the Flamberge Dragon, then you will not be able to make a second Mirror Jade, because even though this is a spell card, then it's still called Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon, and you can only control one Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon, so never ever let your Mirror Jade be put into the spell trap zone by the flame decks, otherwise you will not be able to summon another one. My personal number 4 is Purrely. Purrely is just a very, very strong deck at probably its best power state that it ever was at in this game. We have triple sleepy memory and access to our black cat here, so we can guarantee us grabbing the sleepy memory. The fact that we have a sleepy memory still at 3 also means that we can go for the very, very insane draw 6 on our opponent's turn, drawing into more hand traps to stop our opponent, which obviously is very nice against the fire decks here. You can debate something like the infinite impermanence here, because drawing into an effect weather, for example, is way, way more effective, because the infinite impermanence you will not be able to use on your opponent's turn. You can also go ahead and put in stuff like Drone and Lockbird or Ghost Mourner, for example, to stop the fire decks if you are facing them a lot, especially I guess in Master. Then before, there might not be that many fire decks, but in Master you will definitely face a lot of fire decks, and you can adjust a list like this by putting in more hand traps that you can also play on your opponent's turn. This is what you want to adjust here. So if you draw them with your black boss cat here, then you can go ahead and also use them. The reason why I think this is not better than the decks that will come next on this list is the fact that a lot of fire decks still run Kurikara as a searchable card, basically, that is a bit problematic, and then also the fact that the fire decks can run a lot of hand traps, and if this deck gets hand trapped a lot, then it can become quite problematic for them to reach the endpot that they want to reach, with the little black cat being able to climb into the boss cat with the trap here, because this deck can't really play through a lot of interruptions. Being hand trapped twice, for example, is normally enough to stop this deck and then basically force this deck to end on nothing, which is a bit sad. Other than that, you have a really nice game plan in the Purrely Happiness to Kill. This is not as strong as the Fire Kill game plan in my opinion, but still very strong. And then you have a very, very strong boss monster here that a lot of decks simply can't out. Keep in mind though that if you make it with your trap, then it will go back to the extra deck on the end of your next turn. So if you want to make this tower monster that nobody can battle over, make it optimally with the Purrely Plump by attaching a lot of materials to the plump, and then just overlay the Purrely Noir and the Expert Noir, and then obviously it will have a lot of attack and defense points that no deck can basically out, and you will have auto wins against a lot of decks just by having this card in, which in my opinion makes it very strong. Always keep an Underworld Goddess in mind. Some decks play it, some decks don't. You can't really ever tell, but if your opponent can amass a lot of monsters on the field, then be a bit aware of the fact and maybe spin some of them back to protect your boss monster. But other than that, Purrely very strong, and in my opinion one of the more easy climbs if you want to go Master 1 this season. No big surprise here, we are coming to the fire decks here, and my personal number 3 is Snake Eyes Pure. This is a very hand trap heavy version, don't really copy this one. Go ahead, go to Master Duel Meta and check out the lists that have appeared on there. I have not really changed this list to the new circumstances. You can definitely go with double original Symbol Spoiled Snake Eye. I mean, the list has the problem, in my opinion, that now we have really lost a lot of consistency, you can say. I'm now seeing that there isn't any bonfire in here. Obviously, you would go ahead and put a triple bonfire in here and then put a few hand traps out to make it a bit more consistent. Maybe not the USS, you can argue to USS might be quite nice, but something like this. I think the Snake Eyes deck, and this is why I have it here at a 3, now feels the consistency hit, because we have Ash only at 1, we have Wanted only at 1, and we have nothing really to substitute that with. What you could do is to put in Where Art Thou, a card that allows you, if you have a level 1 monster on the field, basically add one level 1 monster from your deck to your hand. Obviously, you want to add your Poplar, and then Poplar can basically start your entire line. So you could, for example, put out more of these hand traps to put in Where Art Thou or other cards to increase your consistency. Obviously, you want to play triple Poplar, in my opinion, if you want to play the pure version, because otherwise, you are missing a lot of starters. Yeah, so go ahead and do whatever you want with in terms of consistency. You can also go ahead, obviously, put out some of the hand traps, put in the Kashtira package here, which in my opinion makes it a bit stronger. The Kashtira engine really, really nice, especially Kashtira Unicorn. I would say if I wanted to play the Snake Eyes Pure version, I would go for the Kashtira package, consisting of something like Fenrir and then a Unicorn together with maybe the Pressured Planet Wraithsoft. Then I would put out even more hand traps, I guess. Not really the effect values, because they are very effective, haha. Something like this, I guess, and then you have a lot of consistency with cards like the Where Art Thou. You have the Kashtira engine. This is obviously very nice against the fire decks, being able to pull out the Promethean Princess, for example, and then negate the kill turn or the kill combo that the fire decks have against you by putting out the Princess or other important extra deck monsters. Still a very, very strong deck, and if it would not be for the other 2 decks that we have left here, then this would still be the strongest deck, in my opinion. My personal number 2 is Rescue Ace. Very, very strong deck that still has all of its consistency by the fact that we have triple emergency, we have triple airlifter. This is, in my opinion, the most annoying thing about this deck. Your opponent summoning an airlifter, or maybe, I don't know, a hydrant, and you are going, okay, let's imperm the hydrant, let's imperm the airlifter, and then they go emergency because they have it at 3 in their deck, which the emergency is definitely the strongest card in the entire deck, giving the ability to dodge every targeted effect on your Rescue Ace monsters, and then just summon, for example, a Turbulence, and then click the Turbulence and place all your spells and traps, and you can then recycle them with your Rescue Ace HQ. Once the Rescue Ace engine gets going, it's really, really strong, it's really problematic and really tough to stop it. It's definitely not as good playing into an established board as are the other fire decks, that I have to say, but if you can go ahead and make your turn 1 combo work for you, then it's very strong, and you have stuff to play around hand traps very well, like the emergency, which is definitely a power card in this deck. Also, always keep in mind that this deck is great under Maxi, because you just have to basically give him 1 special summon. So let's just imagine this situation: you go for an airlifter normal summon, and then search something, and your opponent drops a Maxi on you, and you have your emergency. Then you can just chain the emergency, summon the Turbulence, and then tribute the airlifter, and you would not even give your opponent a single card with the Maxi. Then you can just go click the Turbulence, set your spells and traps, and have a really dominant board without having given your opponent any card. This is the best deck, in my opinion, at the current moment to play into Maxi, which is always a fact that makes the deck very strong. We had this with Tier Elements, where you could just go Rhino Heart, your opponent goes Maxi, you go I make a Kid Kalos, then you can go make Sulliek, and then you have a monster negate life, and your Kid Kalos would go to the grave and mill 5, which more than likely hit any other stuff like a fusion card to give you another interruption. And this is what Rescue Ace can do as well, which is why this deck is so strong. And as long as we have Airlifter and especially Emergency at 3, this deck will be powerful. I also think that in the near future we won't necessarily see hits to this deck. Not a lot of people are playing it, but it's still very strong, in my opinion, stronger than is the pure Snake Eye variant. And only one deck, in my opinion, is a bit stronger. Even though you could also make an argument for this deck might be the strongest in the current meta environment, I think the deck that we will talk about next, and you probably know what we are talking or what we will talk about next, is better. But if you would argue this might be the best deck in the game, I guess you could also say that, in my opinion, the next one is a bit stronger though. And no big surprise here, in my opinion, Fire King Snake Eye is the strongest deck that you can play at the current moment. It does not need to be this Volcanics variant that I play here. I like the Volcanics variant. If you play Volcanics, you also want to play Fire King High after Runics. If you're not aware of how this deck operates, then I have a really comprehensive guide with all the combos that you need to know in the upper right corner for you. Yeah, I think the reason why this deck is very strong and stronger than the pure version is that the Fire King engine came at a really good point. We have Snake Eyes Ash at 1. We have Wanted at 1, and there is definitely consistency missing in this deck right now, in the pure version that is. So we now have the Fire King engine that we can just slot in here. Just some quick words when it comes to my list: you could definitely go for triple Avatar Kirin here. You can definitely go and put in a few more cards like 43 or something, or 45 even, just to minimize the chance of drawing your Garunix or maybe your Flame Birch Dragon that you definitely do not want to draw. Drawing a Garunix, like the new Garunix, is definitely not that bad. But yeah, this deck very strong. It has the kill combo, obviously has a very strong going first turn. It's always said that the Snake Eyes Fire King variant is stronger into the entire meta, and then the Snake Eyes pure version is stronger in the mirror against this one here. I definitely would say that's kind of true, and because not a lot of people are running the pure version right now, the Fire King version is definitely the strongest one, giving you the ability, I mean, especially the Volcanics, right? I think the Volcanics that you don't need to play is very nice, because the normal summons that we now miss from the going to one of the Snake Eye Ash and the loss of the Wanted, which doesn't really give you a normal summon, but still, these provide new combo starters, and the Volcanics on its own together with another fire monster that you can destroy, which is not that unlikely, obviously, is very strong, ending on quite a good board here, giving you free bodies via the old Garunix, for example, which I think, why I think that Volcanics is very nice. You can also go ahead, if you want to, and play a third Poplar, put the entire Volcanics package, which consists of Volcanics, and this Garunix out, and then, I don't know, maybe put in even more hand traps, or you could also put in Where Off, though, the card that I showed you before. But I think the Fire King normal summon line is stronger than is the Snake Eyes Poplar normal summon line, which is why I don't really want to go for the Poplar over the Volcanics. But obviously Volcanics needs a fire monster in hand to be destroyed, which makes it a bit less consistent than a Poplar would be. Poplar just needs a Poplar. But I still think this variant is very nice. You don't need the extra deck boss monster, by the way. It basically never comes up. I pulled this in Royal Finish and I didn't need to decraft it at this current point, so I still have it and have it in here. But I have to say that sometimes I do miss a Nightmare Phoenix in here, because sometimes you just need to remove something from your opponent's board without using your SP Little Knight that then says that you can't attack directly, because if you use your Little Knight you can kill your opponent then, which is a bit sad. So sometimes I definitely miss the Nightmare Phoenix in here just to clear an unknown card from my opponent's board, like I assume this is an Infinite Impermanence and I need to get rid of it, and I can only at this case use my SP Little Knight that I do not want to use. So if you want to put in a Nightmare Phoenix over the Garunix Eternity, definitely is a good call here. Other than that, this is the strongest deck in the current meta, in my opinion. Is more consistent than is Snake Eyes. Not really more consistent than Rescue Ace, but it's stronger than Rescue Ace in what it can do, in my opinion. And the turn 2 kill combo, obviously, same as in Snake Eyes, is very, very impactful, giving you the ability to very easily finish the game. But now I want to hear it from you. Let me know in the comments what you think. What are your 5 strongest deck? Where would you agree with me? Where would you disagree? By the way, if you like my videos, it would be very helpful to subscribe. Also hit the like button and the notification bell. This will help me out a lot and you don't miss out on any more videos. Without further ado, that was all for today. Thanks for being here, and we will see each other in the next one.